We're now joined by Michael-Biyi, who joins us to discuss the Venezuela instance. Bolu, it's good to see you again for 2026. I haven't seen you this year, so welcome on the news. Well, thank you very much. Bolu, let's talk about precedents. What precedents is the United States president setting when he goes into a country, abducts, or many say, its sovereign leader, takes them to the United States to stand trial? What should other nations that have been fingered by the president, the U.S. president, be thinking now?
Well, thank you for having me. Honestly, I do not think that President Trump is setting any precedent. I think he's actually, following a playbook that existed for over 70 years. It's not the first time that we'll see presidents being deposed from office. I mean, there's a long list. Is it Yahya Jammeh of Gambia in 2017 when he refused to leave office after losing the election? ECOWAS threatened military intervention. This had the backing of the United States. And this forced him into exile as well. The case of Laurent Gbagbo as well, of Cote d'Ivoire, I think around 2011, he refused to accept the election results. France and UN forces intervened as well, and they arrested him and took him to the Hague. Saddam Hussein is there. The capture of Muammar Gaddafi of Libya as well. This was led by NATO, the US, UK, France, and the United States. And it's not a coincidence, because Libya has Africa's largest oil reserve, and Venezuela as well. It's I think has the largest oil reserve in the world. So it's not a coincidence that these countries like Libya, Venezuela are usually soft targets. I don't think he is setting any precedent. I think he's just following the playbook that's existed, for over 70 years now.
So, Bolu, in that playbook, where does Nigeria stand? Nigeria's got plenty of oil reserve. Nigeria has security challenges. Nigeria has reliance on Western finances and also Western military support. So in this situation, in this dynamic, how vulnerable is Nigeria?
Yes, Nigeria is quite vulnerable. I mean, I think most countries that, if you look at it, countries that get attacked or, have that, strong conversation with the U.S. are countries that have some form of resources. They don't go to countries that have nothing to offer. You can see Congo has never really been at peace. They are the richest country in the world in terms of natural resources. Nigeria, for example, we're the third, I think the 10th largest in the world when it comes to our oil reserves, and we've not really been stable in terms of security, and we already have U.S. boots on ground in the guise of trying to stop the religious extremism allegedly taking place in the northern part of the country. So Nigeria definitely is vulnerable, especially when we can already predict what will happen if we begin to align with opposition of the U.S. like China and Russia, because that's what brought the cameras back for Trump, that they had to depose Maduro. Maduro had meetings with China and Russia, and trying to strengthen ties with them, and then he took over the country basically. So if Nigeria plays such, we can already predict that the US will probably make the same move. So yes, we're vulnerable. Nigeria is very vulnerable. It's already rich in resources. It has its own equal security challenges, and we can already predict that what the United States will do should Nigeria align with Far East countries like China and Russia.
So Bolu, is generally agreed that Maduro was a dictator, is a dictator, and that was one of the excuses that the American president actually used in getting him to America, in attacking and also, in quote, kidnapping him and bringing him over to America. Now, if bad governance is something to go by, and Nigeria has also been fingered to having bad governance, the quality of our governance is not that great, and if the Maduro instance was the liberation of the people, can that same factor be applied in Nigeria? I'm still going on the vulnerability question from before.
Okay, so I believe strongly that the case of Maduro is actually very, very much different. It's we can't really compare that much what's going on in Nigeria in terms of a leadership than what's the atrocities that Maduro has committed as well. Maduro is not a saint. If you look at the history of Venezuela.
But Bolu, let me stop you there. But the point is, it seemed like a smokescreen. It wasn't really about his dictatorship. It was actually about Venezuelan oil. So if you apply that to other instances and other vulnerable countries, of which Nigeria is one, do you think that that could be taken advantage of and say, oh, it's a liberation of the people?
Yeah, there's a possibility, like I said earlier, if what actually broke the camel's back for Trump was, Maduro aligning and trying to strengthen ties with Russia and China. So should Nigeria make a similar move, I think it might trigger, the Trump administration to move in as well, So yeah, Nigeria must find a way of, must try to be as diplomatic as much as possible, be friends with the U.S., be friends with the other powers all over the world, because the win-win situation when we are friends with other big countries or the powerful countries all over the world, because they do have stake in Nigeria in terms of investments, in terms of the manpower. They're building our roads, bridges. They do have a stake in the country. So it's our benefit as well if we try to be as diplomatic as much as possible by maintaining a good relationship with the U.S., with China, Russia, and every other country that's powerful in the world. Not only the powerful ones, but every other country. We should be a friendly nation to as many countries as much as possible in the world. Should we go otherwise against the U.S., the way Maduro has done, then we can already predict that it's likely that the U.S. will sweep into the country.
All right, so what alliances should we be looking away from? And I mean this deliberately. If we have the Sahel region, the Sahel belt just on top of us, and they're having relationships with Russia, that makes it strategic for the United States. They would want to have at least maybe some stake in Nigeria. But should we go afoul of alliance, who would it be that we should not be interacting with as a country that might make the United States perhaps more interested?
Okay, you see, even within a family, right? They're all given birth to by the same parents, but there'll still be siblings that will be closer to one another than the rest. We can measure the level of closeness of relationship that we can have with every country. We don't have, there are some countries we're going to have like really strong ties with, countries that we have ties with, but not as strong as some others. So I think what we need to do as a country is to measure our level of interaction, relationship, or ties with each country. We shouldn't be too close to some, and we should be the ones that are safe, that will not put us into trouble with stronger countries. We can't have stronger ties with them. It's all about national interest.
For instance, Bolu, and real quick, while Venezuela used to sell oil to China, what if China says to Nigeria, we would like some of your oil? Should we sell?
Wow, that's a really tricky one. That's a really tricky one, and there's a possibility that could happen. I mean, the world trade is not restricted to a particular country, and Nigeria is a sovereign nation. They have the right to sell, and we have the right to sell our resources to any country that we wish to. So we can trade with China. We already do that. We have a lot of Chinese products in the country already. It's not the oil wouldn't be any different. The U.S. does not have the right to dictate to us what we're supposed to do as a country. The same way we sell to the U.S., we also have the right to sell to Russia, China, and other countries in the world.
I hear you there, Bolu. The U.S. does not have the right to dictate to Nigeria who it sells its oil to. Thank you very much then, Bolu. We'll see you next time when we have such conversations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Let's go on a quick break.